For this video here is going to be about the Uncharted games, Uncharted 1, 2, 3. I mean, recently replaying them again, right? And yeah, so Uncharted 3 I played many years ago. Many years ago, right? It was my first Uncharted game, so that was my intro to the series. Then, recently this year, I played 1 and 2. And now you can pick these up for super cheap, like $5 each, right? $7 each, super cheap, right? In the last 5-6 years, where they'll re-release games, right, like in certain bundles or remastered, right? So yeah, so if you're on PS4 or 5, I believe you can pick these games up. The Uncharted Legacy collection, and yeah, but the Legacy collection, right? In my opinion, it's a lot better than this. If you had the PS3, buy those older copies, right? Like you see here, buy the older copies. I save a lot of money, and yeah, Same thing too like with The Last of Us. I don't know why they do so many of these remasters, right? But it's just some more money for Sony essentially, and yeah. But yeah, again, you can pick these older games up for cheap at a pawn shop or retro game store, and yeah. So what I really like about the Uncharted series is, I just really like the a balance between the story, the adventure, the action, right? Puzzles, and yeah. So it just feels like a very perfect balance. Now the pacing of these games, they kind of they're very similar. They're very similar. You'll get fast-paced action sequences, slow-paced puzzle sequences, right? Or sometimes slow walking dialogue moments where you have to listen to the dialogue, and yeah. But everything like in the game complements each other very well. Like the dialogue is done so well here, right? Which I'm gonna talk about after. The dialogue is done so well between the various voice actors. They really, I did a great job here, and yeah. The adventure, right? So the adventure is very, like that linear style, right? There's sometimes different pathways that you can go, right? Uncharted 3, for example, where you choose a different pathway in a certain, I believe it's like a certain tunnel. You can choose to do a certain puzzle first, and then the next puzzle, and yeah. But yeah, these games, they really capture how well like an action adventure game should be. And yeah, a Tomb Raider as well, Last of Us as well, right? But this one, in my opinion, really gets the action, sequences done well. Action, shooting too as well, the Hollywood sequences are in the game, and yeah, all those things. So like it makes the game work, again, Nathan Drake, right? Nathan Drake, I can't remember what the voice actor's name was, right? Nolan North, I believe his name was, but yeah, he's amazing. He's amazing. His banter, right? His, a personality, right? Really playing as this character as he goes through different scenarios, right? You really feel you are the character through the world, and yeah, also the character, and as well other characters too as well. Sully, Helena, right? You had various different evil villains across all the 3 games, or 4 games, right? And yeah, but I really, Nathan Drake playing as the main character, playing as him as the main character, really makes everything feel, real, authentic, and yeah. Through these 3 games, lots of shootouts, lots of action shootouts, third-person shooting moments, right? Take cover, kill as many enemies as possible, right? Coming at you, and yeah, there's a stealth takedown sequences as well, right? There's ledge takedown sequences, right? All of those things. So lots of different weapons in the game, right? Pistols, you had shotguns, assault rifles, right? Rocket launchers, and yeah. You'd get outnumbered. So I'm playing Uncharted 3, and there's one part where you're in after the whole plane crash lands, and there's one part where it is very annoying. Very annoying, right? You're stranded because the enemies, they keep on spawning. There's armored enemies, right? There's rocket launcher enemies, grenade launcher enemies, and yeah. But, really, some of the enemies, there's sometimes like in the game where it's like, okay, the enemies just keep on respawning over and over again, right? The enemy waves just keep coming and coming and coming. And the enemies will flank you, shoot you, take you out easily, right? You can take out enemies very easily outside of, except like when the juggernauts coming at you, right? The more armored enemies, and yeah. But yeah, lots of shootouts between these 3 games. Uncharted 3 probably had, the most amount of puzzles, relative, right? Uncharted 1 had a lot of shootouts, lots of shootouts. 2 as well, same thing, but a relative like to the first 3 games, lots of puzzles, right? And yeah, so puzzles, again, Uncharted is about, going to these stranded territories, uncharted territories like on the planet, and trying to find like these prestigious treasures, right? I believe it's like Francis Drake in the 1500s, so I believe it's like Nathan Drake's ancestor. He went out looking like for these treasures, but he came close to finding them, but I believe he turned back. And yeah, so as you go throughout these games, you do puzzles to unlock these, whether it be like a labyrinth or some sort of chamber or some sort of light deflect puzzle, right? Or puzzle where you have to align certain platforms together. And yeah, but the puzzles, they're very intriguing. I really like them. They really make you think, right? I think through the the process. And Nathan Drake has a journal, so the journal, which is a way for you to guide you through the puzzles. There are some puzzles that are, for example, there's one near the end of Uncharted 2. I can't remember what it was, but it was very annoying. Like, I had to look it up. I believe it's in the Himalayas, and then there's these phase symbols. There's phase symbols, and they're connected to a certain element. And yeah, you have to match them up, right? So the notebook, I had to look this one up. It was very confusing, and yeah. But the puzzles, they're very fun, right? Some are not so much, but they're there, right? And the puzzles. Also, as well, there is climbing, platforming too, right? So climbing like is more so looking at a wall and seeing the ledge, right? Finding like a certain ledge. There's a certain terrain like in the wall that you have to follow to find the ledge, and yeah. So climbing is very straightforward, just like in any, in most of these, adventure style games, and yeah, there's a lot of climbing between Uncharted 1 to 3. Lots of climbing, right? But it gets very easy. Yeah, it gets easy. There are certain areas like like certain puzzle areas where it is kind of tricky to see where you're supposed to climb, right? Because sometimes like an area might look like a ledge, but you're not supposed to climb onto that area, and then like you fall to your death, and yeah, But yeah, the climbing, platforming, it is pretty straightforward. It's just for looking for that ledge to grab onto, and yeah. Other things too, like in the game as well, a treasure. So finding bonuses, so a collectible is a treasure. So a random, like they'll be random throughout the map, or the linear adventure where you'll see treasures. So just look for like a spark. You'll see like a little white spark on the ground. You pick them up, and yeah, if you play the game, you'll know. I believe like every 15 treasures you get a trophy, right? And yeah, talking about it too as well, trophies. So in the games, because it is a PlayStation game, there's going to be trophies. The first 2 games, marked it so literally trophies were tracked in game. So literally trophies, right? You can actually track them like on a certain menu, right? Within the game itself, and yeah. Uncharted 3, I'm not sure like if it has this, but the first 2 games had it. So the trophies are very, very simple, right? If you use many different weapons, so for example, an AK-47, get 25 kills with AK-47, or get 50 kills with a certain pistol, or get 25 kills with a certain shotgun, and yeah, it's very straightforward, and yeah. So the trophies, and I'm not very good at collectibles, like in terms of collectible trophies. Right, it's a lot of grinding. You gotta really go back to a certain point, like in the story, to find a certain treasure or certain treasures, and yeah, But collectible trophies, another game, for example, the Batman Arkham series, the Riddler trophies. So these Riddler collectibles, they drove me crazy. I hated them very much, right? But yeah, that's the Uncharted treasures, they're a lot easier, to find. As well, in terms of sequences, so lots of action sequences in the game. There tends to be like an obsession like with like a truck chasing sequences. So for example, like Uncharted 2 and 3 had it where 4 as well, where there's a scenery of like these vehicles racing, not so much racing, like a truck convoy, and then you have to catch up with it or escape from it, and yeah. Now I really like these sequences as well, right? They really get the pacing of the game going, and it's very fun action sequences of Nathan Drake kicking ass or shooting an enemy. enemy shooting at you, a motorcycle is coming at you, and yeah. I did the one recently where it was you're in the Middle East and you're on horseback trying to chase these convoys, right? And yeah, other things too as well, the train mission, so the train sequence in Uncharted 2, right? Uncharted 2, which they also brought back in Lost Legacy, the train sequence, right, where the train, the game starts out like with it. It's like a flash forward, but the game starts out with it where that the train is about to collapse off the Himalayas, and you feel like there's no hope. Later on in the game, you get to see the entire sequence play out. Uncharted 3, the crashing plane sequence, right, which is very cool, right? I remember that sequence like in the game, and yeah, so lots of these crazy Hollywood sequences like in the game, but like it's very cool. You get to play through it, right, through the character's perspective, and yeah. Multiplayer. I didn't really play multiplayer. I play a little bit back in the day. I don't remember how much of multiplayer I play. I'm not sure if these, as far as I know, Uncharted 3 the servers don't work with it being a PS3 game. A lot of the servers, they get shut down over time, and yeah. But yeah, the servers, the multiplayer back in the day, if you wanted to play multiplayer, is basically like a third-person shooter multiplayer. I believe you could choose certain characters, like in the actual story, whether it be villains or main characters. You could choose them as skins, and through the skins you get to play as these characters through the multiplayer, and yeah. Uncharted 4, I know I had it. I know I had the multiplayer, and yeah. Mechanics, visuals, audio, some of the best like for the time period, right? Really, in terms of character design, the environment, the sceneries, right? Visuals, it is amazing. Mechanics as well. The shooting mechanics, very solid. The movement mechanics, swing, going into cover is very solid, right? Rolling is, evading, dodging is very solid. There's even these melee sequences, one-on-one melee sequences, which I avoid. You're mostly shooting enemies, but where like a bigger enemy that tries to, tackle you down or choke you out, and through these sequences, you get to see it to play through these cool ass takedown mechanics, right? And yeah, in terms of other things too as well, the gunplay feels very solid. Very, very solid in just the recoil. Some guns, because they have a heavier recoil, they'll shoot a lot, they're gonna, aiming is gonna be kind of off, like with some weapons, and yeah. But overall, switching from cover to cover feels very solid. Audio design as well, very solid. Very, very well done, high quality, and yeah. Especially for Uncharted 1 and 2, like, mid to late 2000s and early PS3 era, it was very solid. Like compared to like lots of other games on the PS3 during that time, right? And yeah,